Fit and 10 Nation, it is day 9 of the Fit and 10 Challenge, and I hope you all had a wonderful Easter or break. Perhaps you don't celebrate Easter, but I hope you all had a nice day. And it was a beautiful day. I got out and actually walked for about nearly 4 hours. I went on a near 4-hour walk today, which is pretty crazy. I usually try to walk every day, but typically not 4 hours. Managed to get nearly 20,000 steps in. But a beautiful day. I hope you guys got out, enjoyed some time with the family, and hopefully got outside. All right, let's talk. Well, actually, no, let's not talk about protein yet. Let's talk about some announcements. This Saturday, I am away. I apologize, but I will make that class up to you in the end. Okay, so my apologies to you. We will still run a class at the very end to make up for that. I'm at a fitness event down in Bellevue, Washington. Martine is there as well, so my apologies for that. There will still be a class tomorrow night. All right, so tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And if you have not sent me your snapshots of your food journaling, you need to send that to me, please. Okay, so send that to me as soon as you can. There's still about 20 of you, so a good chunk of you that have not sent me anything yet. All right, so send me what you ate, and then send me a little pie chart of your macros, giving me the amounts of macros that you ate for the day. Okay, don't hide from me. Don't hide. All right, let's talk a little bit more about protein. So I talked about how protein, essentially we are made up of protein. But protein and water is essentially what we're made up of. Okay, but let's talk a little bit more specifically about that. So there's basically 3 kinds of protein structures that make up all of our tissues essentially. And that's keratin, collagen, and elastin. We can find things like keratin in our hair and in our nails. We can find things like collagen in our bones and ligaments and tendons. And we can find things like elastin in our intestines and our blood vessels. So what allows them to constrict and dilate, right? So, really, really important. If you don't get enough protein, these things are not going to be as healthy as they could be, okay? So we want to make sure that we are getting enough amino acids, enough protein, especially essential amino acids. Okay. Another important function of protein is that it forms the structure of antibodies. Okay. So protein is very, very important for your immune system. Antibodies help fight against viruses and bacteria. Right. So you want to make sure you're getting a good ample amount of protein to support your immune system, okay? Glutamine, by the way, I actually, just on a quick side note here, I took extra glutamine this year. It's the first year I didn't get sick. Now, there were some other nutraceuticals I took as well, which probably supported my immune system, but glutamine, which is an amino acid, by the way, it's one of the strongest amino acids that will help support your immune system. I took an extra amount of that every single day. I did not get sick. All my clients were sick. I had people that saw me on a regular basis that got sick multiple times. Again, I'll say it, I didn't get sick. I usually do get sick. I really do have to give credit to glutamine. It's the first year I didn't get sick. So, all right, now let's talk about protein in terms of energy usage, okay? Well, protein is actually a poor energy source, okay? In terms of actually providing calories. It's very hard to break down to glucose. It can be through a process called gluconeogenesis, but and it's even harder to be converted to fat, by the way. But very, very important, right, for helping for recovery of muscle tissue and muscle maintenance as well. So, but there's some other great things about it, right? It's going to help to boost metabolism. At least 30% of the energy in protein goes towards digesting it. So it's very, very, it's got a high thermic effect, higher than fat or carbohydrates, much, much higher. It's going to help with insulin sensitivity. That may not mean a whole lot to you, but if you're thinking about health, especially with type 2 diabetes, think about increasing your protein intake. Okay, that's going to help tremendously with that. It's going to help stabilize blood sugar levels. This comes along with insulin sensitivity, by the way. So this is really, really important because look, if you have a meal of carbohydrates, and let's say, a decent meal has, let's say, 40 grams of carbohydrates. There's a difference whether that 40 grams of carbohydrates enters your bloodstream in 10 minutes or 5 minutes for that matter, or whether it enters your bloodstream in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Okay? Remember, your body can only handle a certain amount of sugar in the bloodstream at any one time. So if it's too high, it's got to get rid of it. Okay? And that's where insulin comes in. But if you have something that's helping to regulate it, which helping basically to siphon it in slowly or funnel it in, like protein will, okay, along with fat and fiber as well. But we're talking about protein here. Protein will help to slow down the release of sugar into the bloodstream. This is really, really important. This is really important for stabilizing energy levels in general, okay, and preventing foggy brain, like I had yesterday morning. What else? It's going to help manage hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin. Okay, so you're gonna feel more satiated. You're not gonna want to just eat carbs endlessly. And what else? There's a few other things, but we're approaching 6 minutes here. All right, let's get to message of the day. Success begins and ends with personal responsibility. Identify what needs to get done and take action. All right. So I always remind myself of this. I take responsibility, take as much responsibility as I can for every decision that I make, for everything that happens to me. It's frustrating because sometimes you just want to blame other people, but or situations or whatever, things you couldn't control. But ultimately, 95% I think we can reasonably say of what happens to us is due to our own personal responsibility. But this is very, very powerful, because if you believe that, then you can make changes. No, I thought I'd just turn this thing off. You can make changes to your life much easier, okay? As soon as you take responsibility for things, changes can happen that much easier, okay? So always figure out a way. If you don't like the situation, always figure out a way of how could I change that? Or how can I change it? What can I do to make the situation better? Maybe it doesn't feed your ego, okay? All right? And I know we all have an ego to some degree or another. It's just human nature. Maybe it doesn't feed your ego, but I think it'll feed your happiness better. And so that's one thing I always try to remind myself is, okay, this may not support my ego, it may not be, whatever, but ultimately down the road, is this going to make me the happiest, right? But again, I'm not perfect either, so still working on this one. All right, so success begins and ends with personal responsibility. Identify what needs to be done and take action. All right, you guys, submit, commit, do what you got to do. All right. 3 weight training workouts, 3 cardiovascular sessions. Stay on top of your diet. Keep doing it every day. If you fall, get back up. Keep going straight. Don't get discouraged. Show up to your classes. Set your workouts in your calendar and make them happen. All right. I will talk to you all soon. Clicker, work for me on this first try. Let's give it a go.